fantastic opportunity to come together, although I definitely would very much prefer to be with you in the same room, because it's about you, everybody individually behind his or her screen or from wherever you are watching this. I truly believe that the circular transition starts with all of us and how we are connected. And often when I speak on stages, I would therefore try to do an exercise to bring you also into this state of mind. It's more hard now, but I would all request you to, together with me, take 3 breaths at the beginning. The first one will be about leaving everything we don't need right now. The second one, to bring in everything we want. And the third one, to connect to each other. So please, let's take the first breath and let's leave everything that is not useful for us in these very important decisions and discussions that we're gonna have today. The second breath is for us bringing in the important support we need for each other and from all the stakeholders we have around the table and around this discussion today. And the third one is, I'd love you all to feel that we are truly connected wherever we are, if we're in the same room and or behind screens. But this is the power that I want to build upon together with you, because it has been hard times for all of us. And this is what I was asked to speak a bit about today. Founding and coming back to the realities where we are today, the crisis that we are seeing, and from there engaging into the debate on how we can best use this for the circular transition. Because I believe very much where we are today, the circular economy is a very interesting response and a pathway forward and how we can emerge from the crisis and build back better, a resilient system. What have we observing in the crisis so far? I think we all have seen the vulnerability of global supply chains. Things just didn't arrive as quickly as we used them to have arriving. Things were kind of broken, and we saw an international system that also came to its halt with the economic fallout for many companies and also for the jobs that we are seeing now. Health has become such an important variable right now that we cannot not discuss anymore. It must be very central, and I believe it's also very much central to debate about circular economy, which is about us as human beings and how we can build economy around us and the planet, and not the other way around, how we put the economy at the center of everything and try to deal with it. We also saw how important community is and how it's important to reconnect into the communities that we have locally, but also globally, to help and support each other in a journey that needs radical collaboration. And the economic realities definitely have also shown the limitations. But I think it's not an excuse of slowing down our efforts. It's a request to speed up the efforts together. It's truly an opportunity not to continue with business as usual, but do things fundamentally better and not just a little bit less worse. It's an opportunity to see each other and one another as part of an ecosystem. And I think that's a slide I like to show. In nature, you see so many beautiful ecosystems, but it's the same for us. We are part of an ecosystem wherever we are, in our own community, with ourselves, in our household, in the organizations and companies we are working with. And the circular economy is a super resilient solution for this. And that's why it's difficult and challenges to implement, because we totally have to redo the things of how we have been operating so far in this environment. The circular economy, often we asked about the definition, and I know the previous speakers have touched upon that. It is coming back to circles. It's coming back to see things as a whole, to put the human and the planet at the center, to get inspiration from nature, to look at radical transparency and inclusive collaboration, and definitely open ourselves up to the work within communities. That's why it is a fantastic roadmap forward that the circular economy strategies can give the businesses, the organizations, and the countries and regions that we are from. And I believe now more than ever, there is a need for that. What needs to happen so that this can actually happen? When we use the pandemic now as an opportunity, we see we truly have to identify a common goal of travel. And we have been doing this, I'm going to talk about it a bit later, in plans that different organizations have been doing for countries. When you see what potentially is unleashed when we actually sit together, the unlikely allies from governments, from businesses, from civil society, the innovators, the young and the old come together and say, this is the direction of travel, then we unleash a tremendous amount of creative energy. In this, we need to foster new collaborations. This is really core. And this is what we often see as an opportunity in circular economy. The solution doesn't come from one player. It comes from everybody. And then we have to shape the right incentives. And that's where the policy environment often is not aligned, because the policy environment still incentivizes old behavior. The bottom line thinking is not fit for purpose. And that's why we have to try together to use incentives also to unlock circular investment opportunities. If we put these things now in place in the roadmaps that we make for a country, for a region, for a city, or for a business, then I think we're setting ourselves up for the right thing and for success. This has been done, for example, in the organization I worked with, Circular Economy, when we looked into our work with cities to look at a holistic view. And we did this work also with different international organizations, such as UNIDO or UNDP, where we looked into different countries. Here's an example from Laos in Asia, where we looked into what is the country actually dependent on in terms of material flows, and how can it reconnect better to its human base, to its resource base, to its financial base, to increase the independence of a country, to look at its own strengths, and not to continue with a model that is exploitative and linear, but truly circular, regenerative, and redistributive. Dear friends, what we truly need now are three things: action, action, and action. That is the way forward. Because the tools are out there. The financial capital and the human resources are out there. We have the knowledge now. And fora, like the ones we are participating together in today, give this unique opportunity to again focus each other on action and hold one another accountable. And I like very much the framework that Circular Economy, the organization based in Amsterdam, has developed for many different ways on how circular economy can be defined. But we distilled 7 key principles. And I want to talk you through a couple of examples that many of you hopefully know, but it's good to keep ourselves and remind ourselves of that this is very concrete examples that we are seeing. So one is the usage of regenerative resources. And might this be for rainwater, for the production of beer, or here the Dutch railway system that is now already fully running on renewable energies. That is the way forward. Regenerative resources, not only for the energy system, but also in the production of our materials and on the things that we use in daily life. We need to think about what truly we have and preserve what we have and extend the usage of these things and keep them at the highest value. And I'm often fascinated when we talk about the idea about repair cafes, where people coming together. It has become a global movement, and it's such a good example because it's not always easy to repair things, but it's necessary. And the more we are able to bring this thinking also into the design of things, the better we will be and the more successful we will be. Any waste that we are seeing in the world, and we know from studies that globally more than 90% of all resources are coming to waste. They're either burned or they're coming to landfills. It's never waste. If we put the waste that we are seeing in our bins or in the big piles around the cities, if we take them apart, many of these resources become an input to a new product. Here you see bricks that are developed from old materials. We don't always need virgin materials. Certainly a problem is when virgin materials keep, because of the wrong incentives, because of the wrong policies, if they keep on being cheap. Designing, let's in our design efforts for the built environment, for the houses, the infrastructures, where we can think modularly, for phones, such as the example of Fairphones is often used for, or for the clothes we have. Let's think in the design of what on how we can build a product so it can be dismantled quickly and easily and can be put back into the resource streams that we're seeing all over the world, so that the solution doesn't become away. Rethinking the business model. We often hear about the case for lighting as a service, but there are certainly different other ideas like mattresses as a service, sleeping as a service. The dishwashers become offered as a service, so that there is an incentive for companies to design for longevity, so we can long use these products, and for the consumer to pay truly for the use and not one time for a product, because we don't need to own our products. I don't need to own my jeans. I can lease them. That's perfectly all right. So I'm incentivized and the company is incentivized that things are coming back into the resource streams we are seeing. I love the example that we are having here in Holland as well, and that are coming up in different countries now on building circular valleys, on bringing different players together in the same space so that this cross-fertilization is happening much easier. And that's not always easy. Definitely a thing that I would love to see in the Building Back Better efforts, that countries are actually committing to say, we want circular economy central to our Building Back Better efforts. And once this commitment is there, this can trickle down into the plans that different ministries make. And there, an idea of bringing the best innovators around circular economy together in spaces that show how the joint creation of joint value, this collaborative effort is possible. This is a fantastic idea that I think has to happen on larger scales. And now we are talking particularly about a country, Paraguay, here in South America, that has such a huge opportunity around the fourth industrial revolution, the digitization of the world that we see now speeding up with the COVID crisis because of the push and because of the health necessities that we are seeing. So the circular economy is a huge opportunity to be part of this fourth industrial revolution and therefore have the technology push circular economy solutions forward. An example sometimes given is the optimization through sensors that are showing the waste trucks on where to go, how to optimize their routes that they are taking through a city so they can economize on the fuels that are used. Hopefully, they're also thinking about replacing old fuels by biofuels, talking about the first point that we have been mentioning about regenerative resources, which have to fundamentally be an alternative to the fossil fueled economy. I love what kind of new opportunities we see around bringing transparency, such as the work of the UK Scale-Up Provenance is showing us, that we have to find new ways of collaborating along the supply chain. And these deep-grained issues around materials on the supply chain can only be solved in collaboration. And there we need full transparency. Blockchain, often hailed as a solution for many things. Here, it can be truly a very, very succinct and very clear example how we can bring different players together to achieve this transparency. I think that now it's a time when we talk about the economy to truly never leave out the aspects of the environment and society. We have to talk about this triangle all the time. It's about the economy, society, and environment at the same time. And that's why, forgive me, and I'm not COVID positive. It's just a cough that I have been having for a couple of weeks, luckily. Circular jobs, the concept of circular jobs has been such a powerful instrument that we have been seeing as more research is coming out of this. It's becoming a real instrument for policymakers to say circularity, circular economy has direct positive impact for employment creation, and not any employment creation. It's about creating jobs that are local, that are there for the long term, and that are focused on an economy that is sustainable and that takes human, nature, and the business side at the same time and is balancing these different efforts. So I think the circular of jobs, the circularity of jobs argument will be a very important one, so we can bring policymakers much more into a leading role into this debate. I want to also tell you about new industries that have been jumping on the train. We have been talking about circular economy. Now in the textile industry, we have been talking about in the built environment, in the whole production industry. And now it's also reaching the music industry. So I'm lucky enough to be part of an effort. I'm an ambassador for a Green Deal in Holland that is working internationally with about 20 festivals that are reaching millions of people in the last year. Unfortunately, this year not, but in next year, hopefully we again see festivals. And we have been starting to work with these festivals and saying, okay, what have we learned so far on how circular economy strategies can be used by festivals to make sure we are inputting there into the core strategies of the business. Think about food that is necessary at a festival. Think about energy, about transport, and all the building materials that are needed. That when a festival comes together for a short amount of time and is basically building a small city for a short amount of time, there we can experiment with circular economy strategies and see how they truly impact the communities, the people, the music industry as a whole. And it has been a fantastic effort that I was part of. And I hope many more of these communities in new areas, such as music, also with artists, we have been starting to work. And this really gives me hope that we are truly seeing a big change, not coming from the traditional industries, but also from new industries that we have so far not been able to reach. Which brings me a little bit to the end of what I've been wanting to talk to you about. And I want to leave you with a couple of things, a couple of thoughts that are truly important to me. If we take a big picture lens now on the economy, we have to talk about a couple of issues which we need to tackle when we want to see this circular economy adoption accelerate. One is we together need to redefine prosperity. Prosperity is definitely not only about financial gains. And the COVID crisis has showed us this. It's about reconnecting to community. But when we reconnect to community, there needs to be a way that when people do this, that it's valued in society. I believe there is enough prosperity for all on this planet. It's not about financial gains. It's about redefining prosperity. And this we have to do on an international level and a country level and push this debate forward, as difficult as it is. 2, rebuilding of the commons. What are the commons? The commons are the resources that are available to all. Think about the parks in cities, about the green environment in our countries, the nature parks. And we need to rebuild these commons as something that we own together. We have a responsibility together. We need to give a value to. And when we talk about the regenerative side of the circular economy, it's very important that it comes with a big other trend that we are seeing at the moment in the globe. It's about restoration of nature. So much has been destroyed. Think about the forest fires that have been raging all over the globe. The figures show 10,000 fires at a time. And imagine that this is destroying the global commons. So it is a responsibility for all of us. And I think the circular economy has to be linking also with this debate about the global commons. Number 3, I've been talking about this before a little bit, is this rebalancing global and local. We don't want to do away with the old economy, how it has been, but we definitely need to reshuffle it. We need to rethink it very fundamentally. So what can be done local? Which industries need to be local? And what can be better solved globally? I think we have to stop there to hide costs, but truly talk about the true costs along supply chains, which is a very crucial way of tackling the debate. And this can only be done if we somehow provide a kind of international governance system for that. And the last one that I'm coming back to, and which I started together with you, this journey on this last 20 minutes. We are a community. We are a very strong community because we are convinced that the circular economy is such a strong answer to what we see now as the big challenge of our times. How we save the climate, how we rebuild society, how we make sure people are not left out anymore, and the economy benefits the few. Rebuilding communities is a big, big opportunity there. And we have to start to think, 1 + 1 is 5 in a community. If we stick together, we are able to solve the problem. And I hope you are willing to connect with me on Instagram, on harry.circular, or on Twitter. And let's continue to have this debate because it's a global one. Truly, truly unfortunate that we cannot be together today in person. Big congratulations for the team that has still being able to pull this off together with the international partners and national partners. And I hope to see you in a follow-up conversation very soon, and truly hope that we can derive some action from what we have been talking about today. Thank you very much.